Welcome back to another episode of Knives and Beer. Today, I'll be drinking Columbus Brewing Co. Thunder Lips. Trying that for the first time, never had that. And the setting is a little different, if you noticed, because I'm not in my apartment. Going to attempt to open this beer. There we go. That was with the Tough Thumbs Justin Laffer collaboration, I believe. The Laffer Curve, I think, is what it was called. Never used that before, so guess that can maybe explain why I couldn't get it open. So, for today's episode, I wanted to talk about kind of just things that annoy me in the knife community and just with knife companies in general. So I kind of have a list, probably about 11 things, I think, of just things that are annoying. Kind of just me talking about my pet peeves and complaining, I guess. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was people posting pictures. Okay, so some of these aren't just companies, they're kind of like what people in the knife community do. So the first one I want to talk about was people posting a picture, and it happens a lot, with a gun and then a knife. So the gun will be something expensive. Like everybody posts something different, but like easily a gun, a pistol worth over $500. Usually it's got something custom, like a trigger or custom sights, something they did to it, so more money than the stock one. And then like a $3 gas station garbage knife, and it's got all this stuff about tactical and this is my EDC. So it's just annoying seeing that stuff, then seeing other people post just pictures of like a $200 knife or a $200 knife or just in that range, and then not posting it with something else more expensive, just somebody that doesn't carry a gun with them posting a regular knife that they carry, and it's not a $2 or $3 gas station Chinese copy that says firefighters or U.S. Army on it from China. I see that a lot. You can see it a lot on Instagram, probably in the EDC hashtag, but I don't know where to go to look for it if you want to go find it somewhere. Another one, kind of along with that cheap knives thing, is Imtech USA. So if you've seen their knives, or I think there might be a part of Frost Cutlery, that's what this is right here. So just really cheap, not quality knives. And what they say on them, a lot of them on the blade, they say the name Imtech USA, then sometimes they say designed in USA or something. Well, you can go online, you can see people posting that they think they have something made in the USA just because they decided to put USA in the name to try to trick people. So that's another pet peeve of some country person going, oh, made in America, you know, sport America, and then posting something from China that's probably pretty much worthless because they're really bad quality, and they're just kind of tricking people into buying something that they think is made in the US. Another one is clones. So if you go to like there's a lot of stores, they sell like a bunch of Chinese knives. You've probably seen them, like gift shops that have like katanas and throwing stars, stuff like that. Well, you can look through the shelf and you can find custom designs. I can't think of any specific ones right now. I'll try to. Oh, the Spyderco Cricket. I think that's what it's called. The little tiny one, like it's probably about 2 inches long with a hawk bill. So I even have a fake one of that and never knew that it was a copy for probably 5 or 6 years until I saw that Spyderco makes the real version of it that's pretty expensive for the size, but mine's a piece of crap little plastic knife with a really bad blade. So just clone knives that they're selling that people don't know that they're buying a design ripped off somebody. Still bad quality, like most of those cheap Chinese copies and stuff. And also tying into that, I only buy American people, so ZT is made in America, so they buy that, and things like Strider, other kind of mid-techy custom knives like Medford and stuff, and claim, oh, I wouldn't spend my money on Chinese crap when this is made in China right here, and that easily rivals most American knives. Definitely rivals Striders for quality, probably better quality control than Strider, but just the overall materials and build and design and everything. Same with this and that. The Riyadi Hills and the Kaiser GPB1. So those are also made in China, and they're really high quality. So these people saying, I get it, if you want to support the US and stuff, that makes sense, buying zero tolerance or buying from smaller shops, supporting them, but trying to trash all Chinese knives like they're this low quality piece of crap that can barely function and will probably fall apart if you try to use it. Trying to paint all Chinese knives like that is definitely something that annoys me a lot. One thing that really annoys me is seeing knives for sale online. So usually I don't go through the knife sale hashtag. A lot of people go through that and get annoyed when people just post like a picture of their Riyadi saying whatever, EDC for today, and then they hashtag knife sale, but it's not actually for sale. So people get annoyed by that. I don't really go through knife sale, the hashtag, or knife trade or anything like that, so it doesn't really bother me. But what I hate is when people post like a Spyderco, for example. This is my Spyderco, and I bought it when the paramilitary 2s were really hard to find, so they couldn't get enough made, and they had a shortage. So I think the price was up to like $159 when I bought it. So after taxes, it was like $160 something. Then a couple months later, probably 3 months later, I saw it at the knife store and on Blade HQ for $119. So the price dropped dramatically. They had a lot more. They weren't struggling to produce enough, and people were still selling them online. People like me that bought them for $150 or $160 were trying to sell them for like $125, $130, when you could go buy a brand new one, never touched, never used or anything, brand new from Blade HQ or any other website for $119 or $120. So that was annoying. I think people just needed to kind of research. They were trying to make their money back on it, but it's kind of hard to make your money back on it when the value depreciated so quickly, especially just because it's used, but then because the retail price dropped by almost $40. Another thing that annoys me is billboarding. So I have all my zero tolerances out here because they're the main culprit of billboarding. So that side of the blade, not bad, just the logo. But then you get to this side, you get 801, 0801 with the Kai logo, LMAX, USA, the serial number, and Rexford design. So that's all written on the blade. Kind of takes away from the sweeping lines of the 801. That little logo looks perfectly fine, but then the other side having all that, like if you look at a Riyadi, it says Riyadh, and then the other side has the blade steel. Nice and simple. Another zero tolerance, just the logo, then 3 lines of words and the serial number. So it's a common theme with zero tolerance, as you can see. I think Kershaw also probably. I don't have any to show, but just kind of messing up the blade with useless words. Maybe put that on the box or put that in the manual, something like that. Something you don't need on the actual blade itself. Another thing is just stainless frame locks in general, mainly from Kershaw. So if you saw my video talking about last year, 2 years ago, their lineup that they released to come out that next year, they released like 26 knives. A lot of them had the same features, so one of those features was stainless frame locks. And they're kind of just, they're always really thin, they don't feel very good, they don't operate very well. They're not as good as a titanium frame lock with a nice thick frame with a cutout and then a steel insert right there. So they're just not as good. They don't really need to be there, just you can make it a liner like that, just a nice thin liner lock that operates nice and smooth. That's all you need, but they feel the need to go and add a frame lock to everything. And also another one with that is the speed assist. So Kershaw kind of just went crazy with speed assist, and the just assisted opening knives in general is kind of just a pet peeve of mine, mainly because if you don't want it to be an assisted knife and you take the spring out, then you don't get the same snappy action as you would get with a frame lock like that, a manual flipper frame lock. You kind of get like a really, well, I can't even do it with this knife because the detent is so nice, but you kind of get like a barely any detent. It kind of just does that, like kind of just falls out. It doesn't feel like it really holds the blade in because you don't have that spring helping it hold in the blade. So that just kind of annoys me that they make so many knives and so many good designs, like just like something that really cool that you'd like, the Kershaw Knockout. I like that design, but it's speed assisted, so I don't like that it has that speed assist on there. It kind of detracts from it for me. Some people like it, but I feel like it's not people in the knife community, people that collect knives that are into that speed assist. And it's kind of just somebody that, I need a knife for work, I'll buy one and then use that for 5 years. Kind of those people that need them or that like it. Another thing talking about cheap knives is when it says surgical steel on a blade. So all of these blades, they say the steel, it says S35VN and S35VN, LMAX. So it says the blade steel, S30V, but when it just says surgical steel, like a cheap knife, then you know something's up. Like it's not specifying the type of steel, because I don't think surgical steel is like a name of a certain steel. They're just kind of telling you, hey, this is good for people that don't know anything about steels. And if you think about it, surgical steel doesn't need to be crazy good. If you're a surgeon and you're using surgical steel and like a scalpel, you're using that like one time and then it's disposable. You throw it away. You're not going to clean it off and resharpen it and then go cut somebody open again with it. That's not what it's used for. It's a one and done steel that's sharp enough at one time to use. Then if it gets dull while you're using it, I guess you just throw it away. But it's not as good as it sounds when you hear surgical steel. Oh, that's got to be really good. The medical industry uses it. It's got to be top quality. But it's really just another bit of marketing, trying to kind of trick you into buying it, thinking it's better than it actually is. Flippers that don't flip is something that's really annoying. So all of these here flip well, the flippers, except maybe the 801 kind of has a little trouble. The detent isn't super strong. You can still obviously flip it out easily. You saw me kind of struggle to not flip it out originally, but like it's not hard for a company just to make a nice detent so that you can flip the knife out easily. Tons of companies have figured it out, but there's other ones that still can't figure it out. Mid-tech type companies like Medford, pretty sure the original Medfords had flipper tabs. People complained about those not being able to flip at all, and I think you weren't supposed to flip those anyway. Hinderers, really expensive knives, paying almost $500 for a knife, and then you can't flip it. Now they're better. They kind of figured it out, I think. I flipped the new ones. The new ones flip better, but the older ones, the XM8, or yeah, XM18, I think is what it's called. So the older ones, you'd try to flip it, and it was on nylon washers and everything, and it wouldn't do anything. The detent was too weak. You couldn't get a good flip out of it. So just having that flipper there and then not even being able to really use it, it's kind of annoying, because if you're like me, you like to just sit there and flip it open and kind of mess with it, fiddle with it while you're doing nothing really. And I think, looking at my list here, that brings me to my last one, which is marking up knives. So I already talked about people selling it for above retail when it comes to like the paramilitary too. But what's worse is when somebody takes a knife, like a custom knife, that some guy made in his garage or his shop, spent a lot of time on, bought all the materials, did all the work, spent hours working on it, maybe had $400 or $500 into it, then sold it for $650, sold it for $700, made $100 or whatever, kind of covered all the cost of the time and materials used, but then they made their profit so that they can run a business. Then somebody buying that knife and either instantly turning around and selling it for $1,500, $2,000, something crazy. People that wait a long time on a list, so they're hard to get. There's not many on the secondary market. Then they buy them and instantly flip them over. Like Grimsmo knives, I've seen those go for $3,200 or $3,000 on eBay, when I think they sell them for around $700 or $800. I think less than $800. So for buying a knife, you're making triple or way more than triple what the person that made it with their hands made on it. So that's just really annoying. It's really bad, just kind of shady work, is just buying a knife and then profiting off it instantly, while the person that made the knife, that's trying to run a business, is making a lot less of a profit. So then you're also driving up the secondary market for other knives. So if another person comes up and decides, oh, I want to get rid of my Grimsmo Norseman, then they look online and see, oh, people are getting $3,000 for these. I'm not going to sell it for the $800 that I was going to. I'm just going to sell it for $3,000. So that's kind of the last thing that annoys me. This is a new setting, kind of just canvas backdrop and everything. I'll try to get everything else figured out better for the next video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the other videos on my channel and the other episodes of Knives and Beer.